Earlier this month, DBIA spent a week in Las Vegas with a large assortment of design-build professionals at the 2025 Design-Build Conference and Expo. Now, this conference is always a super busy time with so much going on. There's no way to truly capture the energy without you actually having been there, but we do like to try. So we did our best to recreate some of the excitement from the conference, specifically the Project and Team Awards and the National Design-Build Student Competition. And that's not all, because in December we have part 2, where we're going to do it all again with interviews from our Distinguished Leadership Award winners and the 2025 Brunelleschi Lifetime Achievement Award winner. So even if being on site with us is a little like capturing lightning in a bottle or winning $1,000 at a slot machine, which I actually did. No joke. I won't tell the story here, but I did. The interviews in these next 2 episodes will let you relive at least some of the fun or create a little FOMO if you weren't there. I am your host, Erin Looney, and this is part 1 of our 2025 Design-Build Conference and Expo recap from Las Vegas on the Design-Build Delivers podcast, brought to you by Archons, an Autodesk Platinum partner. Anyone who's been to Las Vegas knows winning is a possibility, so is the opposite, but we won't talk about that. What we will do is highlight some of the teams that won big in Vegas with DBIA, starting with this year's Project of the Year winner and the Chairs Award winner, which, fair warning, we recorded right in the middle of the after-party chaos. You're going to hear all the celebration happening around us, but the insight still lands. And then we're going to go to the future of Design-Build with the top 3 student competition teams from the National Design-Build Student Competition. What you'll hear in these interviews are super quick hits, just a little preview of what the students had to say, because we're going to have a full student competition episode coming early in 2026 with interviews from the judges, advisors, and more from the teams themselves. Now let's get into the good stuff. Each year, DBIA honors the best in design build with our Project Team Awards, chosen by a jury of industry professionals. Our highest honor is Project of the Year, awarded to a project that exemplifies collaboration, innovation, and excellence across all facets of design build. This year, that honor went to the Kansas City International Airport new single terminal and garage. This project reshaped an airport, redefined infrastructure for a region, and reintroduced a city to the world. The team also earned Merit and Excellence Awards in Aviation, a Trailblazer in Inclusive Growth Award for large projects, Best in Process for Progressive Design Build, and of course, the coveted Project of the Year. You can find the full slate of award-winning projects, including detailed write-ups, photos, and jury comments on DBIA's awards page. But for now, let's hear from Mark Goodwin from Clark Construction, a member of the team that proudly brought this terminal to life. It was a big night last night for the Kansas City International Airport. 5 national honors from DBIA. You got the Excellence in Merit in Aviation, Best in Process for Progressive Design Build, Trailblazer in Inclusive Growth, and, of course, the big one, the Project of the Year, and that's quite a sweep. 5 is an impressive number to take home. So what does all this recognition mean to your team and to Kansas City?
It means an incredible honor. You know, we were surprised, really surprised to be so successful last night, but it was an exciting project. And I do think it was deserved, but it is meaningful to the aviation department, to the city, all the awards that we've won, but we did really shine last night, and it was really exciting for the team.
And just, this is kind of a bonus question, but did you have a large contingency from the project here to see this happen, or do you need to brag when you get back?
We need to brag when we get back. Other commitments conflicted, but the team's really excited to hear the news.
Good. We're talking about a $1.5 billion airport terminal that you delivered early, and you delivered under budget. This is impressive no matter what you're talking about, but you did this during the pandemic, so that kind of takes it to another level. How did your team maintain that kind of momentum through uncertainty, is a nice word for it, and you managed to also keep safety, schedule, and quality on track?
Times were crazy and incredibly challenging. We did have the benefit of being outdoor construction because we did start just before the pandemic, so we were erecting steel at the time, but we did have 400 or 500 people on site, and I think it was about staying calm, communicating to our trade partners and our craft workers, setting the requirements and guidelines, and then enforcing them. We did not stop the job at any point in time. We did go to on-site about 50% for our team, so it was a week on, a week off. I also think that with other projects not able to continue forward, there was some increased labor that did actually help the job move forward, because we were a job who was essential, and we were working outside, so it was a place that people could work. which was great.
Kind of a silver lining there. People didn't have other stuff to do, so you were able to utilize that. Yeah. I mentioned that you won the Best in Process for Progressive Design Build. What made that approach essential for success on this project in terms of this scale, these conditions you were dealing with, and how did that help the team manage the risk, make decisions, communicate effectively? Talk a little more about that.
Yeah, so Progressive Design Build, in our case, we set a target budget, and that's what we had to work to. And everybody bought into that target. Really that threshold was set by the airlines. They were funding the job and financing it, and they said it can't go over this price. So everybody had to work within that and understand that that was the constraint. So if the owner wanted something that they couldn't afford, it was understood. And if the architect wanted something that couldn't be afforded, it was understood. And White's Clarkson's role was to communicate where budget was. So we set a target point. We had contingencies that were appropriate. And as the risks were eliminated or worked through, there were savings, and we actually identified those savings early enough in the project where that money could be refunneled or reprogrammed back into the project. Incredibly successful approach where we set a target budget. That was before we started design, and then we designed to it, and as the design completed, we were able to add scope instead of deal with a budget problem after that. So I think the progressive design build approach really helped make it really clear to everyone the constraints that we had to stay inside.
Was there anything in particular you had to sacrifice that you look back and say, well, it turned out okay, but at the time I was trying to fight for that?
I wouldn't say that we actually had to sacrifice. When we were selected, the aviation department wanted to be very exhaustive, put everything in there, and then we'll go down from that. So there was a bridge from the parking garage to the terminal, and then there was a tunnel from the parking garage to the terminal. And those were things that were really nice to have, but they weren't in the initial program. And they understood that we had constraints that we had to work through. So I don't really think that there was sacrifice. We did have to early on reduce some of the lounge spaces that the aviation department wanted, but then we were able to, as the design progressed and the risks reduced and the savings were there, we were able to put those spaces back in. So it really actually turned out to be an initial sacrifice and then something that was it stayed on the list, and we were able to get it back into the program as the job progressed.
One of the things, and we were talking about this when you and I were chatting before the interview, one of the things that kept coming up when we were deliberating as a jury was just that human element, the fact these are people who are coming in and using this space in multiple ways from all over the world. And so one of the really powerful things about the design is it centers on community, accessibility. What really stood out were things like the sensory room, the quiet room, that accessible connector. Can you talk about those and any other features you want to highlight and how those priorities influenced teams' choices? And then let's talk about some of the feedback you're getting for those things.
How did we get it right, or how did we start off? I give Skidmore, Owings & Merrill and their design team incredible credit for the outreach that we did, the listening that we did. Our team, we had probably 7 or 8 different public sessions. Sometimes we had 500 or 600 people in a single session. And those were listening. Those were public questions and answers and presentations. We were presenting what we were seeing, and we were asking for their input and their thoughts, what meant Kansas City to the audience. And people probably attended and wondered, what's it going to matter? We were a team those comments did matter. We did have to average things out, and we had budget constraints, but we really, we heard over and over again the ease of the old terminal. And so that was a huge focus. Ease and inclusivity were really big things that we carried through the design. So a couple other features that I particularly like in the airport, there's a space that you can reserve to go into. It's an airplane fuselage, and it's kind of like a museum exhibit. And you go in, and you are feeling like you're boarding a plane, and you're sitting in it, and then there's a video of you taking off in front of you. So it really gives the experience. It's another thing that the airport included in order to be as inclusive as they can. I think they deliver on being one of the most inclusive airports in the world.
That's a really cool idea. My mother's a very nervous flyer. Something like that would probably put her mind at ease. So I imagine a lot of people are really thankful for that particular feature.
That's exactly what it was for. And the feedback on the inclusive features is very positive. There's another inclusive playground for children. And so there's just a lot of features that are thoughtful, and I think people really appreciate that.
Yeah, because we know airports are everybody's favorite place to be, and no one's ever stressed out in an airport.
Yeah.
Why would you need help? I really thought that was a great perspective to take going into it, was being that thoughtful in the design. And on top of that, 80% of the concessions are local. And $320 million went to underutilized business enterprises, 133 underutilized business enterprises. What did that inclusion, this community inclusion, this Kansas City inclusion look like in practice, and how did you make sure those commitments weren't just numbers on paper?
Yeah, so the word transformational for the community was used over and over again. And we did set goals, like a lot of projects set goals. We did look at those goals differently than a lot of projects, and that we looked at that we had made a commitment to deliver on those goals. And not just the goals. We made a commitment to deliver on a transformational project for the passengers, but also for the construction community and the architecture community, and giving them opportunities to grow. That was a mission of the City Council when they started off on the project, and it was one that we held very close to our heart as we executed the project. And so how do we do it instead of just setting goals? I would say it was very intentional on how we set up our procurements, and I think that we put a lot of pressure on our large business partners to include small businesses. You know, things that they typically might not do and things that would challenge them. We leaned in hard because we knew it was the right thing to do to give opportunities to smaller businesses. So yes, we had about 254 local trade partners, large and small, and 133 of those were small businesses. And over $300 million of work performed and executed by those small businesses. The other piece that we're proud to have done for the community is not just focusing on the businesses, but on the labor and craft side as well. Our goals for minority and women in the field were 10 and 2, and we delivered 22 and 10. So we really far exceeded the minority and women in the workforce. And I give a lot of credit to our trade union partners who helped us achieve and exceed those goals. They were great. They understood the City Council's objectives with increasing the workforce diversity, and the partnership really excelled with the unions and helped us achieve and exceed those goals.
What I think is really interesting about this particular piece, especially all the vendors, is for some people, this is their first impression of Kansas City. For some people, it's their only impression. They might be stopping layover and that's it. And so that opportunity for you to really showcase the city in not a vacuum, but in a space that some people may not get outside of, or when you come to an airport and it just doesn't match the city, it doesn't set a good tone. So this is really great. I mean, you get there and it is Kansas City from your first foot on the ground. I think that's very cool.
Yeah, we talked a lot about it being the front door. You might not think of cities as having front doors, but that's where so many guests are going to come in. And Kansas City has the opportunity to host some exciting events, including FIFA World Cup in 2026. So that was something that we were talking about, that opportunity towards the beginning of the construction. So world-level visitors, they're going to see what Kansas City is. There is a lot of focus in our design on getting it right, not being overly stated, not being something that Kansas City isn't. But the barbecue is a focus, and the sports are a focus, and the art is a focus. And I think those things are well captured in the final product.
And that actually brings up a really good point about not just this national stage, which is where my mind was, but this world stage that Kansas City is on. And I will say some of the best food in the country. And I think it's going to be wonderful to see what the reaction to that is when people come in from around the world for the footy. You mentioned the sports and the growth of downtown. This terminal was described as potentially redefining air travel in the Midwest, in an entire region of a huge country. So what do you think that signals about the city's future beyond what you just said, as well as the role of Design-Build and how that will play in?
Yeah, so I've lived in Kansas City for 10 years now, and the growth and the development have been incredible. The airport's a part of that. A lot of other large projects are really driving growth in the community. I think that people are going to see that Design-Build is a good way to get things done. It can help manage risk. It can help deliver faster than other procurement methods. I think the project is signaling to the country that Kansas City is serious about its businesses and about its visitors, and it wants to be on the world stage.
And with this, I think it will. So one more congratulations. A single clap. It really is a wonderful project, and I'm so happy to have you come talk to us about it right now. So thank you so much, and let's see what you got coming up next time.
We're excited.
Thank you.
And from a project that stood out in every possible way, we moved to a story of extraordinary delivery under extraordinary pressure that also stood out in every possible way.
This year's Chairs Award went to the Hurricane Ian Sanibel Island Access Project, a design-build effort that became a literal lifeline. When Hurricane Ian hit on September 28, 2022, it severed the only link between Sanibel and Captiva and the Florida mainland. Overnight, more than 6,400 residents were cut off from food, fuel, medical care, everything they knew. The Florida Department of Transportation and its design-build team, a joint venture of Superior and DeMoya, mobilized within days, restoring emergency access almost immediately, reestablishing resident travel within 30 days, and ultimately delivering a resilient, reimagined causeway built to withstand the next storm, because fellow Floridians, you know that next storm is always right around the corner. This project earned a National Award of Merit and a National Award of Excellence in Transportation, and of course the 2025 Chairs Award, chosen by the sitting National DBIA Board Chair. Quick heads up about this one. We caught this interview right after the ceremony in the middle of the after party, so yes, the soundtrack includes a little cheering, a bit of chatter, and one very determined announcer. But honestly, it captures the moment perfectly, and the conversation with Superior's Toby Mazzoni and DeMoya's Paul Suellentrop cuts through the noise just fine.
Good night for you. Excellent project. I was actually really rooting for it. I mean, I'm from Florida, so it was a pretty exciting project to me just because I've been through the hurricanes. I know what it's like. So your night ended with a Merit Award in Transportation, nominated for Best in Process for PDB, and you got the Chairs Award, which is a pretty big deal, given that Tom Foley takes the time out of his schedule to choose that, and so he really thought through it and was really impressed with the project. So looking at that, when you think about everything it took to get here, what does this moment and all these awards and nominations mean to you and your team?
It's a tremendous honor, and we're very humble for receiving these awards, right? And we love it that it shows the hard work and dedication that our team did for this project. But most importantly, it's not about the award. It's about the people of Sanibel Island. You know, we didn't do it for the awards. We didn't do it for our recognition or anything like that. We showed up, we've seen people in need, and we reacted to try to get them to what they needed, their homes, their island, to everything that they needed and had to get to.
And this is the kind of project that you don't really want to have to do. But when you do, you better do it right.
Correct. It's something that it's born in you. You just go out there and you just work hard and get everybody together and get so that the people can get back to their houses.
Like I said, not in the plan, this project. It's not something you wake up thinking, do you know what I want to do? I want to go clean up after a hurricane. But the reality is, the hurricane hit, you had to come in and you had to do this project. It changed probably your plans as a couple of different companies, different firms. What was it like to come together and mobilize so quickly to get this done?
Well, it starts the week before the hurricane hits. So you're already preparing to mobilize once it goes through. You're there mobilizing, ready to see what needs to be done to fix what happened.
The reality is this was an intense undertaking whenever you get something like this. Like Paul said, it starts whenever you see something like this is coming. But, you start trying to prepare, but no one really knows. I mean, you said you're from Florida. They tell you 100 different places this hurricane might hit, but no one ever really knows. And, once it hits, then you go into react mode, and try to start responding and helping out wherever you can, calling the owners, calling the people, calling whoever you can to see where you can chip in and help the most. The whole process with the DBIA and this progressive design build system that the DOT does help this process, right? So in a normal world, you get a set of plans, you read a set of plans, you study them, and then you go build them. In this one, it was react quickly. So we had us and our team, whether it was the designers, the DOT, the county, the owners, whoever, they all come together as one, and you reacted on the fly. You didn't just sit back and wait for someone else. You did it, you reacted, everybody come together, you thought about it, you didn't overthink it, you just dove right in and started making stuff happen because you knew you had to do it quickly because you had a lot of people relying on you to make this happen. So the whole process in itself that the DOT chose to use on this one really benefited the community.
One of the things that really stood out when we were looking at this project was that you were essentially living on site throughout the whole thing. So talk about what that was like to grill your meals together, to stay in trailers, and to know that this was your life until it was done.
Well, you didn't get a lot of sleep. It was long days, strenuous days. You go maybe get 3 hours at night and come back. We were living within a mile of the job, so we actually was able to get a house that had power and everything. So it's 15 days of excruciating, just whatever it took.
Who was the best cook?
Well, actually, we didn't cook a lot because you didn't have time to cook. We found restaurants that were open within 20 minutes of where the job was, and that's where we actually ate at the same restaurant every night.
You don't want to admit everybody was a bad cook. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To go along with that, though, everything that you take for granted on a day-to-day basis was not available to any of us. Yes. And nothing was open. You didn't have cell phones, you didn't have power, you didn't have gas stations, you didn't have Publix. You couldn't just run down the street and go to fast food. You know, we had guys, even like myself, we would travel out of the area to load up sandwich meat and bread and just basic things like that and bring them in, you know, every day. And we would lay it all out on a tailgate of a pickup and then haul it out in boats to the guys that were out working in the field around the clock, day and night, just trips back and forth. You know, that's just one of the many things that we did to try to keep the job pushing forward so our guys could keep working, but at the same time be able to function, right? You know, we all can't function without the essentials that we need to keep going, whether it's food, water, all those things. None of that was available where we were at. We had to go all out of the area to get it, have it brought in between our vendors, our people, whoever, you know, could chip in from anywhere afar and just drive to us and bring what we needed. You know, that's what we had to do to make it happen.
And it was a saving grace because when you're out in the field working and you come in, you're starving, you need water. It was there. It was sitting there because these guys brought it in for us.
One thing I can say about people from Florida is we do know how to tailgate, so you were already, you know, that was built into this. That was not something you had to learn. Well, final question for you. This is a little more serious. You know, projects like this, they do test everything you have. So, you know, we're talking trust, teamwork, timing. What got your team through the hardest days?
The people of Sanibel Island. We actually knew people that lived on there. We'd see them every day. They'd come in and talk to us and help us out. It was all go to get to that thing open so that they can get back to their houses instead of taking a barge and a boat.
Just like Paul said, we're a family. You know, it might not just be, you know, my family with my wife and kids. You know, we're a family as a group, as a town, as a community, as a state, right? We all come together because we knew what those people were going through, and we wanted to help them the best we could, right? This whole phase design build, you know, that helped a lot of that. It helped speed it up, the whole process. So, you know, those sleepless nights in the early days helped push that along, and it was rewarding when you saw them people come across the road for the first time in 15 days. You know, they were so thankful, honking the horns, waving flags, crying as they drove by. And it wasn't just even after 15 days. You know, we had other deadlines that we tried to do for them. Complete the road by Christmas of the same year, the upcoming year. And we did that, you know, so much, and so thankful that even the mayor and the people of the island come and had dinner with us, celebration that we had for the crew and the people that were there working that made all this happen. It was those trying times that made it feel good and rewarding. And then along come 2024, another hurricane season where we got 3 hurricanes in almost less than a month. That rewarding to see that what we had built lasted, right, so that we know that it's going to withstand future hurricanes like Ian or anything else, so that we know that those folks on that island, whether it's Sanibel or Captiva, when a hurricane hits, they're going to be able to get back home the next day when the hurricane passes. That's what gets us through the days.
Yeah, there's no way you could have built that job without phase design build. Absolutely no way. What it did is took the chains off us so that we can go out there and do the work and not worry about making sure all the documentation was handled before we started. So it was all negotiated as we went along, and there's no way that we could have done that job without phase design build.
We like to hear that.
I mean, the reality is when they first put this out for contract, they expected it to be done many years after we get done. Yes. I'm sure you read the stuff and it said we got done 3 years early. That's just the reality of it. When the handcuffs come off and they allow us to act as team members, whether it's not just the contractor, it's the engineers, the DOT, everybody to come together and collaborate. It's basically like live streaming on a day-to-day basis it's amazing what you can accomplish quickly.
That was the biggest joke. Be done by Christmas.
Yeah.
Be done by Thanksgiving. Be done by Halloween. Be done in 15 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's even better. Usually it's be done by Christmas. Oh, maybe New Year's. Oh, maybe Easter. She went the other way.
Yeah, just like you said, when they showed up, they didn't expect it to happen like they did. And the team of everybody is what made it happen, and then durations just kept shrinking.
It took Lee County. It took Lee Sheriff's Office. Everybody that was involved in making sure that we got materials in the quickest way we could. It just wasn't us. It was the whole county.
You know, this year, just as a kind of aside thing, there were 2 hurricanes this year, an Erin and a Melissa. I'm Erin, my sister is Melissa, and we said, I'm sorry, Florida. Thankfully, we didn't need you to come in and take care of anything on the heels of those. But it's good to know that if we do need, in the state of Florida, somebody who knows what they're doing, you guys have it down. I mean, the Chairs Award, big deal, so congratulations, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us on your big award night.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for having us.
The Design Build Delivers podcast is brought to you by Archons, your technology optimization partner, helping design build teams streamline workflows with Autodesk solutions, expert support, and real-world training. Ready to work smarter and faster? Get tools, insights, and schedule your AI readiness check at archons.us/DBIA. Now let's talk future. Students, the talented young folks who will replace you one day so you can go happily retire to that cabin in the woods or the cabana on the beach. It's your choice. Either way, lucky for you, the future is in good hands. So each year, DBIA challenges student teams nationwide with a unique project in the National Design-Build Student Competition. This time, it was an airport expansion at a major airline hub designed to keep pace with booming population growth and record-breaking passenger traffic. So it's complex, it's interesting, and it is realistic. The competition itself has 3 phases: an RFQ, an RFP, and finally, the top 3 teams present their projects in front of industry leaders at the annual conference. This year, first place went to D&T Construction from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Second place to Cypress from the University of Florida, and UF's Asa Richards earned the Best Individual Presenter Award. Third place went to Pioneer Design Build from Alfred State College. You can learn more about the National Design Build Student Competition at dbia.org. Now, what you're about to hear in these interviews is just a taste. We'll have a full student competition episode in early 2026 with longer interviews, and we'll also talk to the advisors and some of the judges. But for now, here are a few highlights, starting with your champs. The winning team, D&T Construction from Cal Poly, consisted of Allison Buchholz, Sergio Gonzalez, Coulter Langmaid, Casey Lavin, and Jacqueline Lamano. Their faculty advisor was Tom Comer, who you will hear from in the longer episode. But for now, let's talk to the students.
Congratulations. Listen, I'm a Gator, and I'm sorry, but congratulations, and I truly mean it is a really big thing to take home this prize, and every year when I talk to the teams, it's just more and more impressive to see what the industry is going to look like going forward. So what do you think, out of all the teams that entered, set your proposal apart and made you, rise to the top?
Yeah, we did extensive research for 2 months now. We were even in this project before school even started during the summer when I was traveling abroad. People had their internships lined up. And so I think we did a lot of preparation work for it. And then we executed it very well by just rehearsing multiple times and just over and over. And we made sure that we knew everything, why something is. We kept asking ourselves why, when, where, how, about every single detail of the assignment so that we knew it by heart.
I also think that we all prioritized this and were able to really manage our time well in terms of this and classes going on. I think we were all able to put in a lot of time and keep our schedules flexible in order to meet for an hour and a half in one of the conference rooms or something like that, or go over questions we think they might ask, or 10 hours on a weekend. So I think, it was great that everyone was able to dedicate a whole day if they needed to for the project.
Everybody had a winning spirit as well. When putting together this team, the 3 of us had asked the question, do you hate to lose or do you love to win? And Everyone hates to lose here, so we were all wanting to go for gold.
How do you define the difference between those two things among yourselves?
If you love to win, then you're okay with losing. But if you hate to lose, there's no other option but to win first place. And
That's
so
excellent.
our whole goal is to set up a team of people who hate to lose because we'll always strive for excellence.
I like that. Okay. Why don't you tell us in your words how you understood this year's project challenge? Talk about the scope, talk about how you said this is what we have to do and here's how we're going to do it.
The approach that I took was taking the owner's goals for the project and really dissecting them into actionable items and things we can put into the design, the schedule, the estimate. Because, I mean, in the end, it's really all about the owner and what they want and how they want it to be built, scheduled, and budgeted. And I think that's kind of how we approached just, how we organized our slides, how we introduced ourselves, putting together our relevant experience was all about making our team the best fit for what the owner wanted.
We were also all very successful at shifting our mindset away from this being a student competition, but rather framing it as we are a construction company and we are presenting to a real owner. And so letting our student selves go and really putting ourselves, like what Coulter was saying, in the shoes of there are things that owners want and need to hear and to have clarification and assurance on, and that's what we're going to provide.
And also kind of a live job interview on some level, right?
Yeah.
Bit of a detour there. Did anybody have the networking that resulted in sharing resumes?
Yes.
So you're all going to have jobs and you're all going to be back here next year sitting in the audience. Who's new and who's competed before?
So we are all graduating this year.
And so you're all graduating?
Yes.
Anybody looking at grad schools? We'll see none of you. I love how every head shook really, really rapidly.
Maybe in 5
I'm thinking
to 10
about it, but
years.
maybe after I get into the industry.
Yeah.
Every industry is a little bit different, but I think universally I would say that's the best move.
Yeah.
Design build, as you maybe knew before, but certainly learned through this, it's collaboration, it's leveraging strengths, it's figuring out how it all works together. So how did your team make sure everybody's skills were used well?
Allie and I being team captains, we wanted the team to not have an authoritative hierarchy. Everybody in the design build team has their own set of skills that they bring, and we're all important. So given that, we were able to use the best of our characteristics to make a really good project.
Yeah, and to add on to that, it is my first time competing in a competition like this. So having such a supportive team and having them encouraging you to bite the bullet was great.
Do you think that you will encourage other people that you run into to do similar things, or did this turn you off to it?
No, I would definitely encourage other students to do the same thing. I mean, it's real life exposure. Like they were saying, pressure, and this is something I can see myself doing in the long run, and that I thought that I would never be doing. And I joined Cal Poly in construction management, and never thought that I would be, looking to pursue for a job. And I mean, I loved it. It was fun.
Another thing I just wanted to add is that our team really treats each other as if it is design build. Like we all know we have our own personal strengths, and we work together and we collaborate and we build on top of each other and we help each other grow in each different little skill and factor of our proposals and qualifications, which I think is just really beautiful, to have so much strength and collaboration in one team.
I also think in creating the team, we were really fortunate just because of how involved our CM program is. I mean, we were able to interview 35. We held interviews for the positions like Casey and Sergio. They both interviewed, and we interviewed other architects and other CM majors. And I think everyone's, dedication to wanting to be a part of something like this is a real value to what our program is, and it just allowed us to really form a strong team.
That is very cool that you did structured sort of official interviews. That's excellent.
Yeah.
So every competition has the ups, but it also has the downs. We've been talking about all the great stuff and all the collaboration and all the, the love and affection. What was the most challenging aspect of this year's project, and what'd you do to keep it from...
The first sentence on stage.
Okay.
For me,
need context.
The scariest part of the whole thing is when you're on stage and you haven't said anything yet, and you're waiting to say those first words just because that's your introduction. For me, once I said the first sentence, I was and I got through that, and it went well. I was like, okay, now I can just go sentence by sentence. And I think for me that was probably the low, I guess. Even though it wasn't a low, but
Like I mentioned in preparation, we are working a lot. And so time management with school, or not even time management, I guess, budgeting, how much to give to school, how much to give to this competition, how do I represent myself in my academics but also stand there for my team, was challenging, but a very rewarding challenge. We laughed a lot when we worked together also, so it was good.
During when due dates came up, Allison and my call logs were just each other. Missed call, Allison, me. Missed call, Allison, me. Yeah. So a lot of time went into this, but it wasn't I have to do this. It was let's do this.
Even though it sounds like you were dodging each other's calls, which... Oh, okay.
Another challenge was being able to understand everybody's role and kind of what they were putting into it. It adds a lot of value, kind of understanding what the architect does, what the estimator does, what our safety person does, our schedule, and how it all works and how it applies, and just being that backup for, hey, maybe this isn't going to work because my plan is this. So that's another big challenge, is making sure that we're all on the same page and not reciting, but that we understand it.
So reflecting on this experience now, obviously there's something coming next. What are you going to do with what you've learned? What's next for you all? I heard somebody say sleep. I'm thinking a little more long-term. Long-term sleep.
For long-term goals, I plan on going into semiconductor construction, which, with that, just the nature of the work, you tend to have interesting clients and owners, which I think just from this competition, Design Build truly is about, having that collaboration and that relationship with your client and your owners and everyone that's a part of that team. And so I think, at least for me, being a part of this competition and dealing with all of that collaboration is so useful and vital to my success in the future, and being able to have those relationships and conversations with owners.
I will be working with Whiting Turner up in Seattle on a federal project, and I'm just excited to get my foot in the door and really grow into my career and just see what's next. I've never lived in Seattle, so it's on the other side of the country from where I'm from. So it's just.
Where are you from?
New Hampshire.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it is.
So we'll see. Should be a good time, and I'm looking forward to it.
I'm wrapping up my 5th year architecture thesis, so that'll be done at the end of the year. And I've also just been continuously working towards architecture licensure. I plan on entering the professional industry after graduation and getting licensed.
I'm looking to put my head down for a little bit and work hard and keep climbing ladders. And once I hit the ceiling, next step, next move.
I noticed nobody said building airports.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay, well, maybe in a couple weeks. Maybe when you all wake up from the long-term sleep. Well, congratulations again. It was really a delight to talk to you. And, I love the enthusiasm, and you obviously come across as winners. Take that energy into the field, and, again, congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From our winning team at Cal Poly, we head to the runners-up from the University of Florida, my home state. So yes, I allow myself a little bias, a little favoritism. Cyprus brought serious strategy, energy, and a lot of heart to this year's competition. Their team included Elijah John, Aiden Newsom, Asa Richards, Nicholas Solar, and Lucas Wicks, with faculty advisor Russell Walters. And after the team interview, I also sat down one-on-one with Asa to talk about the Best Individual Presenter Award.
Congratulations for making it to the finals and for being one of 3 lucky teams to get to come here and show off what you know in front of a bunch of people who know it just a little bit better than you do right now. What does being a finalist in this recognition mean to your team after months and months of preparation, late nights, I'm assuming, unless you're all early birds?
It really means a lot to us. We put in a lot of hard work, and it goes to show that our hard work didn't go unnoticed. Getting an opportunity to present the work that we created in front of all of these judges and industry professionals to give us real feedback, and it was super amazing experience and a great opportunity for all of us to learn and grow and continue in our careers.
And they are sitting there watching their actual replacements, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
The opportunity to compete in the top 3 and come to Vegas, of course, was a huge reward. I think the sacrifice that we made in terms of our time, because this is an optional team for all of us. This is something that we didn't know would be on our plates coming into the semester. And so it was kind of just really cool to get to realize all of that hard work.
Who is new to this competition and who has competed in it before?
I'm new to the competition.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm new to the competition.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually, I find this kind of funny because last year the winning team was all women, and I'm sitting here looking at You were their exact opposite. So for all of you, since you haven't done this before, what do you think of the experience, and will you do it again?
It was a great opportunity. We learned so much just by doing this presentation, and all the hard work and effort we put out, we got a return on it. Got to come to Vegas. Unfortunately, I am a senior, so I won't be able to do it again, but if this wasn't my first year, I would 100% do it again.
I'll add something to it, like going to the expo afterwards. Like when you compete in this, you're like many celebrities. Everybody's coming up to talk to you and giving you, like, we had straight half job offers. Like, come on over to me. Give me your resumes. I'd love to talk to you more. So it's like it's a good professional development thing too.
That's excellent to hear. I want all of you to get a job out of this.
Yeah.
And then you can say you're one of the few people who actually got a job in Vegas and didn't lose a job in Vegas.
Yeah.
So far, we've been talking about the good stuff, but every competition and every team has the bumps, the waves, and the things that don't go great. So what was the most challenging aspect of the project for you all this year, and what did you do to get through it? Man, you are itching to grab that microphone. This is where you bear it all. You hate them. You never want to see them again.
This is kind of where we show the writing on the wall. So, of course, like, we all had busy exams and stuff. Again, this was like an extracurricular activity. Honestly, with how busy all of our schedules were last week, we really didn't get the chance to practice our presentation and a lot of our stuff until about 12 hours before we competed. Is that supposed to go on air?
I mean, that's up to you.
He and I both had to take exams at 4 p.m. 2 days ago while we were here, on honor lock.
What?
So,
oh.
No fun. We had a professor who said if you can't take the exam, drop the course. So
Name that professor.
Non-negotiable.
Oh my gosh. But you managed to figure it out. It seems like 12 hours of practice got you this far, so.
That's right.
What do you think 48 hours would have gotten you?
You two will have to tell us next year.
That's right, because we'll be seeing you again. So final question, reflecting on this whole experience, soup to nuts. How do you plan to leverage, you hit on this a little bit earlier with the networking in the exhibit hall. How do you plan to leverage what you've learned from this?
Since we're juniors, we actually talked to a lot of companies in that expo and talked about potential internships and potential work opportunities, and they were all very open to, looking at our resumes and portfolios and potentially taking us as interns in the summer. So we would probably use this experience to really network out there and get as many job or internship opportunities in the future.
I think it's also always a good experience to get some public speaking and grilling in. I think I got best presenter here to my left, so we're kind of we're honing that. But I think especially for Nick and Eli and probably myself, it's good to get the experience of being asked questions in front of 75 people or whatever, however many people were in the room. So.
Or doing podcast interviews.
Doing podcast interviews, yeah. This is new to me as well.
Bonus question. How many of you are from Florida? And where, if you are?
North Miami.
North Miami?
Tampa.
Tampa?
Tampa.
Tampa.
Gainesville.
Okay. And you're from where?
I'm from Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo. I lived in Buffalo.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this. Obviously, go Gators. It's great to see you all. Take that energy back and tell my state I said you're too hot. So Asa, I have you alone right now to ask you about being the best individual presenter, being under pressure, in front of judges, in front of peers, in front of people who might be your employer someday. What was your mindset when you were going in? What's funny is last year's looked very cool, and they told her she had her hands in her pockets and she was very at ease. Mm-hmm. Turned out she was freezing. So when we asked her, that's what she told us. So what was going through your head, and how do you keep your composure and make sure you connect and get all your points across?
Public speaking is inherently difficult to do, It's taken me a lot of time to work on it and improve. But the biggest mindset switch that I had is I know what I'm doing. I've spent countless hours preparing this presentation, working with this team, and I know what I have to say. I know everything I'm talking about, and so I sort of have flipped the switch from I need to say these exact words to here are a few things that I need to talk about, and I actually understand them, and I sort of treat it like I'm just explaining it to my team, because I've done that multiple times when we're going through the slides or our presentation and say, hey, I'm going to write this bullet point, here's what I'm going to talk about, and I essentially just try to do that again. That's a super driving factor for my success. But then another thing is the team around me. I know if everything goes wrong, I have 4 other people that also know what I'm trying to talk about and can step in and save me. So there's a lot less pressure on I need to do everything by myself, and it's more on I can say the things that I want to talk about, and if something goes wrong, there's people around me to help.
I'm going to ask your permission to use what you just said about being the expert to play for my public speaking students, who I tell that all the time.
Yeah.
I say, you're not giving a speech, you're telling people about something you care about.
Yeah.
You're the expert on that topic. And I want to use, look what happens when you actually put that philosophy to work. So
yeah.
Congratulations on that. It's a big honor and my favorite part of the student competition.
Thank
Congrats.
you.
And rounding out the top three, Pioneer Design Build from Alfred State College, a team that absolutely earned their spot in Vegas and brought a thoughtful, disciplined approach to the competition. Their lineup included Jessica Budd, Fernanda Ceja, Selena Falone, Owen Lantane, and Connor Welsh. Their faculty advisor was William Dean.
Congratulations on getting to the final three. I've heard this was an incredibly tough competition this year, so just being here says you've done something incredible. I mean, that's my perspective, but what's your perspective? What does this recognition mean to your team?
For us, really, this is, I think, the second time our school has actually qualified for the top three, let alone be able to come to the conference. So for us, it's really impressive, and so the word to say, satisfying, I guess, to be able to be sitting here now and getting even top three is such a great honor for us.
I would say you're starting a legacy at this point. I think after the first one, it's like, if you do it again.
We are also the only team from our school. I know some schools have multiple teams. We are the only team from our school. So I think it's quite an honor to be here.
Yeah, it also is great too because almost all of us are architecture students and we had to learn new backgrounds on the spot. We don't have the experience a lot of other schools come in and have. Alfred State provides us with a really great program where we have a basis of what we need to know, but we came out strong as architecture students and proved that we can do anything any other team can do.
Let's talk a little specifically about Design-Build and the collaboration that is inherent and how you all leveraged each other's strengths and your own strengths. What did you do to make sure all of your skills were used fully and to create this, in my mind, real successful project?
The most important thing for us was making sure that we're honest with our capabilities. When we were really divvying up work and figuring out who should tackle what, we tried to be as completely blunt as possible. And it's like for the RFP and the RFQ, it's like, well, I can't really write that well, or I don't know much about a construction background. And then when we got into the design proposal, it came down to me and Selena doing a lot of the design work and the modeling, while everyone else worked on a lot of the construction. And as well, I'm more familiar with the program, I'm not. And I think that communication and that honesty between us as a team really helped us to work very efficiently together and really make this project as great and as complete as it could be.
We also had a lot of meetings, a lot of late nights in the studio together, working together. Collaboration was really key, especially when you're working on a group project. It's nice to know what other people are writing about per se. You can't just start writing about stuff that you're not seeing in the design or you're not seeing in the schedule. We had weekly meetings, and then we would just meet after studio class for the last few weeks for a few hours and try to knock it out together and work as a cohesive team.
All right, final question. Reflecting on the experience from above, what do you plan to do next? How are you going to leverage this success for whether it's grad school, early projects, your next step in the career?
At least for me, graduating in May, I think the most important thing for me is to find a firm that aligns with my values and takes my design and architectural background seriously. I really am striving to go for my architectural license pretty quickly after I graduate. So for me, that's probably the most important thing on the horizon, trying to get that done and just learn as much as possible as I can young. I really like to keep it open and try to do a bunch of different architecture projects, whether that's K through 12, healthcare, government work, or community centers. So really just trying to get a feel for what architecture really is and what it can be as the future.
I agree with all of that. But also, like you said earlier, starting a legacy for our school. I mean, we're the second group to come and be able to present at this conference, and it's been amazing. Would be even cooler if we can come back again next year. So hopefully, and win. Yes, that's a big part. Doing this again, and whether it's another terminal expansion, the John Denton Airport's going to get really big. It's going to get real big if it keeps growing. I think 2 years ago they did kind of like a higher ed, but it was like a sports facility.
Yeah, I think we started building this airport last year.
Yeah, so maybe another terminal. I don't know.
But I did see Terminal 3.
Maybe we'll do a hotel. I don't know.
Okay.
But, just trying to get all the experiences and see how far we can go. We want to build a good platform for Alfred. We love to represent Alfred. We want to bring up the generations after us, have them keep doing this. We want to show them that even though we didn't get first, this is still a great opportunity and we're going to do it again. Because no matter what, it's an amazing experience.
I also think as a smaller school, this is a really great opportunity. We came here and people are like, oh, where are you from? And we're saying Alfred State College. And no one really knows where that is, but it provides a great program for its architecture students. And I think we really proved that the past few years coming in here as strong as we did. And being able to go up against some of these bigger colleges and really be like, hey, Alfred is up there with you guys. Watch out. Here we come.
I would say you guys have put the school on the map, and I think that's the legacy we keep talking about. But I think now that you've done that and people can see the quality of student who is coming out of there, you're really setting a new standard for where people are looking for their next generation of talent. So excellent job. Congratulations, guys.
You can follow us at pioneer.design.build if you want to check out some of the work we did for this competition. Thank you.
Everybody do that.
And that's part one of our 2025 Design-Build Conference and Expo recap from Las Vegas. It was a lot of fun reliving it with you. Big thanks to every guest who sat down with us, even with the conference doing its absolute best to provide, let's call it color commentary. If you're already thinking ahead to what's next, because we always are, DBIA's event lineup is posted at dbia.org/conferences. You'll find dates there for the spring specialty conferences, water, wastewater, and transportation in Grapevine, Texas, plus next year's Design-Build Conference and Expo in Cleveland. Mark your calendars now so you're not scrambling later. Next month, in part 2 of our recap, we're moving from winning teams to winning people, with interviews from our 2025 Distinguished Leadership Award honorees, Janice Zahn, Britt Sanford, David Shadport, and Jennifer Max, and the 2025 Brunelleschi Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, Bill Riefsteck. And who knows, maybe I will share the slot machine story with you then. I probably won't. I'm Erin Looney. Thanks for listening to the Design Build Delivers podcast, brought to you by Archons, an Autodesk Platinum partner. Learn more at archons.us/DBIA.